In the heart of the city stood a mansion that glowed brighter than the skyline itself. Its owner, Richard Hale, was a man whose name carried weight, a self-made millionaire who had built his empire from scratch. His walls were lined with awards, his garage filled with luxury cars, and his calendar booked months in advance with meetings, deals, and investments. From the outside, Richard's life looked perfect. But inside those tall marble walls there was silence, the kind that echoes louder than noise. His wife had passed away years ago, leaving him with their only daughter, Lily. She was the quiet center of his world, but he was too busy building her future to actually be part of her present. He told himself he worked hard for her. Every long night at the office, every business trip, every missed school event, all of it was to ensure she'd never want for anything. But what Richard didn't realize was that while he was busy giving her the world, she was slowly losing the one thing she truly needed: him. It was a bright Thursday morning when Richard's routine began like any other. His driver waited with the car running, the housekeeper had already laid out his suit, and his assistant had emailed the day's agenda. But as he sipped his coffee, something caught his eye. Through the window overlooking the driveway, he saw Lily walking down the road to school. Normally the driver took her, but that morning, she had left early, quietly, with her backpack swinging behind her. Something about the sight made him pause. Maybe it was how small she looked, or maybe it was the sunlight catching the tear in the hem of her dress. He squinted, realizing that the fabric near her knee was frayed, the color faded, and one sleeve slightly torn. It didn't make sense. Lily was the daughter of a millionaire. She had everything, or so he thought. He stepped closer to the glass, his coffee forgotten. For the first time in years, he really looked at her. Her shoes were scuffed. Her hair wasn't neatly tied the way her late mother used to do it. She was walking alone, head down, as if trying to hide herself from the world. A wave of unease washed over him, one that money couldn't silence. Richard canceled his morning meetings and told the driver to follow her, slowly, discreetly. He wasn't sure why he did it. Maybe guilt, maybe curiosity, or maybe it was the faint echo of his wife's voice, reminding him of what really mattered. They trailed her through quiet streets until they reached the local school. It wasn't the elite private academy he thought she attended. It was an old public school with cracked walls, faded paint, and a broken signboard. Richard frowned. He was certain he'd enrolled her in one of the most expensive institutions in the city. But as he watched her walk through the rusted gates, greeting a few kids with shy smiles, he realized she'd transferred without telling him. He sat in the car, stunned. Why would she do that? Minutes passed. Then he stepped out. The smell of chalk dust, the sound of laughter, and the chatter of children filled the air. It was a world far removed from his glass office towers and luxury meetings, but it felt real. And there, through the open classroom window, he saw her, sitting quietly at the back, her torn dress visible under the sunlight. Richard stood near the window for a long time, unnoticed. The teacher spoke, the children laughed, and Lily took notes carefully, as if she was afraid to make a mistake. He noticed how she avoided raising her hand, how she smiled politely when other kids looked her way but never spoke first. There was something heartbreaking in her stillness, the same kind he'd seen in himself after his wife's passing. Then came lunchtime. While the other kids opened lunchboxes filled with sandwiches and snacks, Lily quietly unwrapped a simple meal, 2 slices of bread, slightly dry, with nothing in between. Richard felt something twist inside him. He had chefs who prepared gourmet meals every night, yet his daughter ate plain bread at school. He had a mansion full of luxury, yet she wore a torn dress and walked alone. He realized he had given her everything except what she needed most: his time, his attention, his presence. Later that evening, Richard went to her room for the first time in months. The walls were still painted soft lavender, his late wife's choice. The bed was neatly made, the desk scattered with school books, and next to it, a small sewing kit. That's when he noticed it, a pile of neatly folded clothes, all with tiny stitches repairing small tears. She had been mending her own dresses. He opened her wardrobe and found that many of her clothes were old, worn out, patched up lovingly by her own small hands. In that moment, the weight of his success felt like a curse. His empire, his money, his prestige. None of it had stopped his daughter from feeling forgotten. Richard sat on the edge of her bed and held one of the stitched dresses. His eyes burned. He remembered promising his wife that he would raise Lily with love, that he'd protect her from loneliness. Somewhere along the line, he had broken that promise, not out of cruelty, but out of neglect. The next morning, Richard made a decision that would change everything. He canceled all meetings indefinitely. His assistant was shocked. The board questioned him, but he didn't care. For once, he was not the businessman everyone knew. He was simply a father trying to make things right. He walked Lily to school that day. She seemed surprised but happy, though quiet. When they arrived, the children looked at them curiously, the man in a fine suit holding his daughter's hand. Richard went inside the school office and learned the truth. Lily had transferred on her own months ago. She told the principal she wanted to be like other kids, that she didn't need special treatment or private tutors. She wanted simplicity. Friends who liked her for who she was, not for who her father was. She had chosen humility while he had chosen pride. And in doing so, she had found meaning where he had only found numbers. That day, Richard did something no one expected. He donated funds to repair the old school, not in his name, but anonymously. He arranged new uniforms for every child, books for those who couldn't afford them, and meals for those who came hungry. But most importantly, he made time to walk his daughter to school, to help her with homework, to listen when she spoke. Slowly, the distance between them began to fade. The mansion no longer echoed with silence. It filled with laughter again. Her laughter. The same one his wife used to say could brighten any room. Richard found peace not in his wealth, but in the simple moments he had long ignored. Dinner conversations, weekend walks, bedtime stories. He realized that the greatest riches a man can ever own are not made of gold or numbers, but of love freely given and time sincerely shared. Months later, the school invited parents to an annual event. Richard sat quietly in the audience, blending among the crowd. On stage, Lily stood proudly, her voice trembling as she read an essay titled, "What My Father Taught Me." He listened as she spoke about how success means nothing without compassion, how love can heal what money cannot, and how even torn dresses can carry stories of strength and forgiveness. By the end, the audience was silent, not because they didn't want to clap, but because their hearts were too full to speak. Then, slowly, the applause began. Soft, genuine, rising like a wave. Richard's eyes glistened. This was not the applause of business partners or investors. It was the applause of truth, the kind that comes when a soul finally finds peace. Sometimes it takes seeing what we've overlooked to remind us of what truly matters. Success can build empires, but love builds homes. A child doesn't remember the wealth their parents made. They remember the warmth they felt, the moments they shared, the love that wrapped around them when the world felt cold. In the end, no amount of money can buy back lost time, but every new moment offers a chance to begin again. So love deeply, listen closely, and never let your dreams grow louder than your heart. Because sometimes, the smallest torn dress can awaken the richest soul.